Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of New to Weeaboo. This is number 25 for July 15th, 2020. I am Nemesis, and I'm joined by Alcatraz.
Hey.
Yep, it's still summer. Summer anime season has started. A couple things I'm kind of somewhat interested in here and there. I don't know, we'll have to see a little in a couple episodes about that. Because we'll do that random number thing, because it looks like there's enough for that. I was a little worried.
Yeah, with everything going on with all the delays and cancellations.
Yeah, I don't think not a lot of animes have been outright canceled, but a lot of it's been delayed.
Yeah.
Or just in weird, like, oh, it's one or a couple episodes there, and then nothing for months.
Yep.
I think a couple of things we actually talked about last time were I still haven't had new episodes.
Yeah.
Beyond that, anime stuff, I think the only thing I really remember noticing was just simply the Scott Pilgrim anime maybe happening or something, which is interesting.
Yeah, I've never really known a huge amount about Scott Pilgrim other than the fact that it exists.
I watched the movie. I have the movie.
I've only seen parts of the movie.
Oh, I have the game that was apparently really sought after for the 360 because it was delisted and people are mad because it was got delisted because the license expired.
Oh,
and apparently there's a really good beat 'em up.
I remember that.
Yep. So anime wise, still kind of business as the new usual, I guess.
Yep. The new normal.
Yeah, we're here to talk about something from way in the past. It's actually, in fact, 22 years old now.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop. Kind of a big deal.
it is a bit of a big deal, yeah.
In fact, the thing we're talking about is almost, it's often considered to be one of the greatest anime of all time. To the point where it's almost like even daring to criticize it even a little bit is like slaughtering a sacred cow type thing. Just one of those. It's like whenever people bring up, so what's the best anime ever? Cowboy Bebop was almost always mentioned because it's just left a mark on people.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Possibly even birth the space western genre. Or concept, I should say. I don't think it's quite big enough to call a genre.
What do you mean? Didn't you see the bumpers? It said it should be a genre unto itself and it shall be called Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. I guess that is true. That is what was in the bumpers. Genre unto itself.
Yeah, well, of course they're joking, but still.
Yep. But it's funny. It was a joke, but it is kind of true.
It came out in 1998. More than one person has kind of drawn a little parallels to a show called Firefly, which came out in the early 2000s. Yep. Makes you wonder if Joss Whedon may have caught Cowboy Bebop and thought he could get away with just kind of taking some concepts from it.
Borrowing is fine. What did they say?
It's an homage.
Oh, that was. Or we pulled the Steve Jobs. Great artist steal.
Good artist copy, great artist steal. It might be a little difficult to talk about in many ways just because of what it is in particular. It's not like a lot of the stuff we watch where it's like there is kind of an overarching thing going on per se. It's because a lot of it's very much, almost every episode is very much almost its own thing with it just bare minimum connections between some of the episodes here and there. For the most part, it's like kind of a series of standalone adventures just involving the same characters.
Yeah, there is no overarching story plot, I would say, but there is an interconnected lore.
Yeah.
And world. You can there's backstory that comes up, but there's no like overall goal that you see in the beginning that they're working towards at the end. Where most of the stuff that we have watched, while we may get slice of life in the middle, it's still showing them progressing to an eventual goal.
Yeah.
There isn't really that.
Yeah. It's just a series of space adventures.
Yep.
And that's the thing it's the genre. It's kind of like I saw it mentioned. It's more as online. It's more or less it's sci-fi, western, noir, and cyberpunk kind of all mashed together.
Yeah, it's a good description. I mean, it's definitely a good description.
Yeah, because I'm not sure we really have to beyond that. It's hard to summarize beyond this. It's a group of bounty hunters in space. that's your
Yep.
that's your summary. And like,
Yep.
I don't think we have to memorize because I'm not sure how many people who might hear this and haven't seen it yet.
It's been out for a while.
Yeah, of course.
It's on Hulu and Funimation. There's many places to go see it.
Except for the movie, but that's a little more difficult to get your hands on. Yeah, it's just adventures in space of these bounty hunters and whatnot. And yeah, it came out in 1998, and it just became this thing where it's like, I heard, one of the things I heard was basically never let someone watch Cowboy Bebop as their first anime because it'll ruin all other anime for them. That you're setting the bar too high from the get go, is what it was the idea there.
Yeah. I'm not certain I fully agree, but I can definitely see where they're coming from on that one.
There are definitely things about it I think are a little on the weak side here and there. They're few and far between, mind you, but there are some things I find that, some of it just simply didn't age well, or whatever. I'll get into that over the course that they're talking about it. Yeah, it takes place in 2071. Yeah, of course, it takes place in the future, a bit in the future. They're at this point, humanity is more or less colonized multiple planets in the solar system, and Earth is kind of partially abandoned at this point.
Yeah, things happen.
Yeah, something happened, and that's the other thing is like one of the things they do is they kind of just give you a little bit about what's going on in the world in general, but there's really a whole lot of blank in the world for us. It's just we know things like the Earth is abandoned and surrounded by rocks because apparently they kind of partially blew up the moon a little bit.
Yes, there was a thing. Apparently there was a
jump gate accident.
The accident. Yeah, the warp gate, jump gate accident. And it broke the moon.
Yeah. There's a huge hole in the moon, and now there's a bunch of debris in the orbit around Earth.
Yep, and that's constantly crashing into the planet.
Yeah, so now Earth is largely abandoned, except for people, I guess, who... I think the idea is it's a place where only people who can't leave Earth live now, or something like that. I think that's one of the implications.
Yeah, either can't leave or have some other strong tie to it.
Because we see, like cities and stuff are just abandoned wholesale on Earth. We see that here and there during the series. Like, there's a bit where they have to go basically into a mall, and it's like flooded and decaying and destroyed and everything. It's like, yeah, everyone just bailed. And this is like, this happened only in the show's I guess continuity. That happened about 49 years prior.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that. Yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, there's a colonies on Mars, Titan, Ganymede, and so on and so forth throughout the solar system because they're and Venus somehow. It's like we saw Venus somehow. Like, we're gonna live there. Damn the consequences.
Where's the hardest place to live? Let's go there.
Somehow they figured out. Of course, it's suited some magic plant that doesn't really exist. But hey, shh.
Yeah, we'll just fudge that.
Don't think about it too much.
So don't think about it.
Yeah, beyond this, because we got more or less, I guess 5 main characters technically, because I'm going to count the dog.
Well, you have to count Ein's like the most important character, right?
Yeah. So yeah, first and foremost is Spike Spiegel. He's like the main guy. He's the coolest mofo you'll never meet. That's who he is.
Yep.
He's just really laid back and just kind of doesn't give a crap about anything really.
Yep.
Yeah, that's his whole thing. And then you got his partner in crime, or more or less Jet Black, who he owns the ship, the Bebop.
The Bebop, yes.
Yeah, he owns the ship. He's kind of more proactive. He's a little more responsible in many ways, and he's the one who kind of actually has plans and stuff versus Spike just kind of winging it all the time.
Yeah, Spike just flies by the seat of his pants. That's just how he lives his life.
Yeah, and eventually a couple episodes in, you get the dog Ein. He shows up first. The dog Ein shows up, who's actually a very intelligent Welsh corgi.
Yes. They don't know that.
No, but that's the thing.
They think he's a worthless Welsh corgi, because apparently they're super common, not worth that much.
Yep. And then there's a woman named Faye Valentine. She shows up, and she's just a pain in their butt initially, because she's... she just kind of winds up being with them because, well, just happenstance.
It was convenient for her, so she stayed.
Yeah, she just kind of does her own thing, doesn't really care, leaves, comes back on whenever she wants, has a bit of a gambling problem.
A bit.
And a really massive debt hanging over her head.
Yes. Which we do find out where that debt came from.
Yep. Nothing going on there. And then finally, there's Ed, also known as Edward Wong Hao Pepelu Tversky IV. Yeah, she's a hacker. From Earth.
Ed, don't you mean Cowboy Bebop sitting at his computer?
Oh god, that old thing. Yep. Yeah, she's more or less a teenage girl. Also very much with an androgynous design to the point of people aren't sure if she's a boy or a girl. And yeah, she's a girl, but doesn't help.
And apparently she revels in that fact that people can't figure it out, because every time it's brought up, she chuckles.
Yep.
Every single time, she seems very amused.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a hacker, and she's also kind of flighty and a little weird.
She's a bit out there.
She's on a different wavelength from everyone else, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, when they find her, she actually doesn't show up to almost halfway through the series. But yeah,
when they find her, more like when she finds them.
Yeah. Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, so they're the main characters of it, and throughout the series we kind of get bits and pieces of like their backstory and whatnot, and their various adventures. Some of them, like some episodes, like one or two of the characters just don't really show up much, if at all, and then you got other, so each episode had different focuses and whatnot, and again, very much standalone for the most part, except for a handful of very connected ones.
Yeah,
particularly ones involving Spike.
Yeah, there's a few ones like we said earlier. There's no overarching plot, but there is a connected backstory that does tend to come up a lot. We'll have a series of episodes every now and then that will tie into that backstory and add more to it.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of like the biggest thing to talk about here would be these characters, just because they're more or less one constant throughout the series is these characters, at least not including theming and whatnot. There's a lot of themes and whatnot. They're kind of constant throughout the series as well, but these are the thing that connects it all together. These characters.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to bring up any background characters that they encounter.
Well, there's a couple other ones, yeah, but they're somewhat important, but they're not as important as these characters. There's like Anna, who was from Spike's past and whatnot. There's some guy named
Julia.
Yeah, Julia, who's from Spike's past.
Julia's the big important
one of the big important ones. There's also Vicious,
which
really on the nose name there, guy.
Yeah, the whole syndicate thing.
Yeah, the syndicate.
But you can't forget the most important one, Andy.
Andy, of course.
That one was just so ridiculous.
Yeah. So, yeah, the episodes kind of themselves kind of will occasionally kind of do their own thing, where it's like the genre itself is a slightly shifted. Like one was leaned heavy into the noir stuff, and other ones don't lean as hard into that one and that sort of thing. And some of them are just kind of just ridiculous and funny. Other ones are very, very serious episodes and whatnot. So but yeah, the big thing is like you get bits and pieces of the characters. You get to learn more about their personalities over the time. We get to learn how they operate as people, and then we also occasionally we get stuff like Spike used to be part of this criminal syndicate, the Red Dragon Syndicate. Used to be part of that.
Jet used to be part of the space police.
Yes, yeah, Jet used to be part of some space police. Like the
ISSP.
Valentine is a girl, literally a girl kind of removed from her own time.
Yep. Which is where her debt comes from, in fact.
Yeah, and then there's Ed, who Ed has a dad, I guess.
I guess Ed's
got the least backstory.
Yeah, Ed has Ein, but
I would almost argue Ein has more backstory than Ed.
Genetically engineered dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess a little bit more. I wouldn't say more, but I guess more complete. You don't have to have as much. Ed has a dad who apparently put her into an orphanage, and that's on Earth, and that's all we know. And then she found like a nun that was taking care of kids.
Yep. And then Ed just wandered off one day.
Just wandered off.
And then
wandered in one day and then wandered off
like a cat.
Day. Like a cat.
And she's just real, good at hacking computers and whatnot. And that's even how she gets onto the Bebop is hacking. She hacked a satellite.
Yeah. She had apparently known about the Bebop, was looking for them, but yeah, ended up hacking a satellite, which was also like sentient. It had some sort of AI.
Yeah.
It was using laser satellites to draw pictures on the Earth.
Yeah, and there's even stuff in there that kind of there's like some storytelling just by a couple lines of dialogue tells you a big chunk of the story about the satellites. Like it was like this is a set of satellites. You see the picture, like, oh hey, it's from the U.S. Well, there's a U.S. satellite. There was supposed to be, apparently it was a weather satellite. It is armed with military grade lasers. The U.S. was doing something. That's enough to tell you something. Like, okay, yep, the U.S. had lasers in space for a while before they had to, Earth was largely abandoned. Yeah.
That's a violation of the space treaty.
Who cares? There are no rules in space. And I think of them, the most interesting to me personally, their backstories is honestly FaZe. I find her is the most interesting of them. Spike's really has also a lot of interesting stuff too, but I think FaZe is the most compelling just because of what it is. And we still with her, even though we get a lot of it, we still only get we don't get everything. There's still a lot just kind of, just unanswered.
I think Faye has potential for backstory, but not guaranteed.
No, but
because who knows? Maybe before the accident, she was just a boring regular girl.
Well, that's the thing. I think.
Except that she was rich.
Yeah, we know that she was some girl who was clearly from a rich family, and something happened or another happened, and she had to be cryogenically frozen because they couldn't save her, and then she's woken up many years later. So now, even though she more or less looks like she's 23, she's actually 77 years old.
Yeah, she was on a ship when the accident happened.
Yeah, something.
She was out in space, so something with the accident caused her injuries. Because it showed it showed her and her friends on a ship.
Yeah, it showed her and friends on the ship, but didn't show the accident to the moon. That what we saw was the cracking of the window, not the actual moon accident, because the moon accident is what caused them to lose all the records of who she was.
Could have sworn it happened. I thought it implied it at the same. Same time.
It was like it's likely she's a rich kid because she was one of those people who got to go on a private space flight, and then something went wrong. On the space, clearly something went wrong with the spaceship, like an engine exploded or something, and that was an accident. She got horrifically injured, and they froze her. And then sometime later, the accident with the jump gate happened, and the record of who she was and everything was lost. So when they wake her up, they don't know who she is, and so they just gave her the name Faye Valentine. We don't even told her original name,
except that later when she goes back, just before she gets her memories, she meets her old classmate who still calls her Faye.
Yeah, I know. So that's a weird thing right there. But that's a weird thing in of itself. But it's likely, it looks like she's supposed to be Japanese, considering everything. Yeah. But it's like, still, it's kind of a weird thing because, like, why would they call her Faye? Like, because the guy, the doctor, of course, he could have just been lying, but
they were lying about a bunch of other stuff.
So it's a weird thing. It's like there's a lot of enigmas there.
Also, it's like because I could have sworn that they said that she was frozen for 50 years.
Yeah.
Which would almost line up with when they said the warp gate.
Well, the 50 years was back in 2068, I think. I think it was 2067, 2068 when they unfroze her. And the series takes place in 2071. So it's I think the time her accident more or less took place in the early 2010s, not the late in the 2022. So she was frozen.
So she was already
frozen. The accident happened. All record of her who she is gone. Supposedly. Someone knows who she was because they're able to send her a beta and a Betamax player.
Okay. That whole thing. Oh my god. I got a chuckle out of that episode. Yep. They're bringing up the format wars.
Yep. And that nerd who got freaked out because, what are you doing?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Spike
just wrecks the thing.
Yep. You owe me.
Yeah.
And then they went on this big old adventure to get a new player, and then they got the wrong kind. They got a VCR.
Got a VHS player.
Yeah, the VHS. Whoop, it doesn't fit. Just force
Well,
it.
just force it. And then, of course, whoever sent them to Betamax sent them to another player.
And at first, Jet was all like, "I'm not going to accept these charges," and there's Spike just opening it.
Just opening. Spike.
Yeah, that's the thing is like that's where we see. Oh, hey, it's a tape of Faye when she's younger. Kind of a weird time capsule thing of some sort.
Yep. Recorded a bunch of stuff for herself in the future.
That's the thing. It's like I kind of noticed it was a little like underrepresented. I feel was when Faye kind of getting her memory back. It's like we kind of see the her shock of it as she's slowly getting her memory back, and we're seeing flashes of her memory. But it's like, what kind of person was she before she lost her memory? And it's like that conflict right there. It's like the old personality resurfacing while the new personality, that sort of thing.
I would have loved to see more of that.
'Cause we see some bits of it, like she's acting different afterwards. He actually apologizes to Spike at once and is like, "You apologized?
Yep.
You don't do that. What the heck's going on?"
Or the whole scenes when she's just figuring it out, when she's basically just broken.
Mm-hmm.
Even Spike realizes, like, oh,
something's up.
Something's not right. I am not messing with this.
Yeah.
He says something to her and she just turns around and looks at him. He just stops, like, oh, that's not a look I want to deal with.
Yep. There's a whole, that's a whole thing. It's just like there was like some sort of scam with the doctor who woke her up, and there's a guy there who just faked his death and saddled his debt onto her on top of the debt she already owed for just being frozen because hospital bills. Because it's like, hey, we don't know who you are, but here you owe money because you've been frozen for 50 years.
Yep.
That seems a little cruel.
Yay, capitalism.
Yep.
That's another thing. It's basically capitalism run rampant.
In many ways, yes. Again, cyberpunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jet, though, again, he was a former cop. And he has, of course, a couple of his old friends from the Force or whatever, and he sees the bits and pieces of his past pop up, his old contacts, having to more or less owe some criminal from his past, that sort of thing. And then I guess what, finding out, he got betrayed while he was on the Force. That's like how he lost his arm.
That's how
Yep. Because he's got a metal arm.
He's got a robot arm.
Yep. Yeah, so
which came in handy.
Yeah, his is kind of pretty straightforward. There's actually not a whole lot to it. Yeah, he's a former cop. He's got some skeletons in his closet, and
he's just trying to live his life.
Yeah.
His love left him because... I'm trying to remember why, what the reasoning was.
It's because she was sick of him being overprotective of her all the time.
Something like that. Something along those lines.
Yeah. And he winds up running into her again, and there's a bounty on her new boyfriend, and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you got Spike, which Spike's his backstory is brought to you in bits and pieces over the course of more or less 4 or 5 episodes, which are pretty separated. Vicious is introduced, and it turns out he and Vicious used to work together in the syndicate, and used to possibly even be like buddy and everything. Till there's some
like
sort of fallout.
Partners.
That's the thing. They don't really explain all the.
They never do explain the
fallout.
fallout.
It's just something happened, and Spike got injured, and he kind of faked his death and ran.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It was Julia. And apparently, him and Vicious. It might have been Julia was the thing, because him and Vicious seem to kind of have feelings for her, as both of them. It clearly.
Yeah, it may have been what it was. They never really,
anyway.
Like you said, they never really explained. No,
but it's not surprising you're supposed to infer it.
Yeah. Because there does seem to be a thing between Vicious and Julia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is him and Vicious kind of have this old grudge going on, and there's a whole bunch. There's a lot of it's just kind of real brief snippets of this, like flashbacks with like no dialogue. So you just kind of have to, okay, what's going on here? What's going on? Okay, he used to be part of the syndicate. He got injured. He found Julia, helped him get out. He wanted Julia to come with him. She refused, and that was that. And then he wound up becoming a bounty hunter and joining Jet.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole thing where it's like, and then Julia comes back into his life, and now it's like they're ready to run, and then she died at the end of the show.
And she just died.
Yeah, and then it was...
That is one thing I was a little disappointed with, how quickly she died after being reintroduced. But it's like, I don't know what else he could have done.
Yep.
But
It's
still
noir, man.
also feel just
Noir.
it's like, yeah, she's here, and then she's dead.
Yep, noir.
All
That's
right.
what happens in noir. It's brutal and just people die, brutal senseless deaths for no real reason. And then of course he has to have his big old showdown with Vicious.
Yep. I have nothing else to live for.
Yep, that whole thing. Yeah, him and Vicious duking it out one last time, I guess. Yeah, there's some there's just a lot of the episodes. Some really big standouts for me. Toys in the Attic was a standout episode for me. That was the one with the blob monster in the fridge.
That one was. It was basically Aliens. The Aliens episode.
Alien. Clearly,
yeah,
Alien inspired.
Only
the flamethrower.
Yeah, I don't know if the sequels have been out by then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's 1988, 1999.
Yeah, but it was totally a reference to it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, that was a big standout. Jupiter Jazz parts 1 and 2. That was the kind of I guess mid-season finale thing. That was a big standout.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the synopsis for each of those. Remember the title.
Jupiter Jazz was the one that had Gren show up. That was also more or less one of the times we saw Vicious.
Yeah, the first time you find it on Lynn.
Yeah.
Vicious and Lynn and Gren and that whole thing.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, again, another
big one.
Really good one, I think, is Pierrot Le Fou. That's the guy that he had the top hat and everything.
Yeah.
That was a big
weird one.
Yeah, again, a lot of these they only tell you enough for the episode. There's a whole bunch just left untold about what led to these events happening.
Like, what's going on in this world that this happened?
Yeah.
They caused this.
Also Cowboy Funk. The one with the cowboy.
Andy.
Yes, Andy.
That was the one where you point at the screen at the end and go, he said it. He said the line.
He said the words.
See, Space Cowboy.
And Spike just, what? Because Spike's so angry because everyone's like, he's just like you. No, he's not.
He so is.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of cool moments. Like there's the mechanic with this old space shuttle. He gets to fly again.
Oh my god, that one. It was just what?
Yeah, there's stuff like that.
That was the Endeavor.
Yeah, I think
if I remember correctly, it was the Endeavor.
I could have sworn it was
or was it
that one started?
No, it wasn't the Endeavor.
Started with
wasn't the Columbia.
Yeah, I think wasn't it?
Can't remember now.
It started with a C in this one.
I'm pretty sure, but one of them blew up.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to remember which one blew up. Was it the Challenger or the Columbia that blew up? Or is it both now?
Well, they're all
both blew up.
Columbia.
It is the Columbia. Yeah, it was the Columbia. That was in Bebop.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a Columbia. That's what it was.
Yep. Which, that's kind of, whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one is just the last 3 episodes, of course, really stand out.
Yeah.
In general, the last one with Ed in it, and then the real folk blues.
Yeah, the last one was a 2-part.
Yeah.
2-part finale. Yeah, the last one with Ed, that was...
Yep.
How to actually describe how that whole thing... When Ed leaves...
Yep.
Doesn't take... And Ein goes with her.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's where you really start to see more... I guess current emotion and like the cracks in the crew.
Mm-hmm.
Because Spike and Jet have been on their own just fine for who knows how long. They don't actually say. And there's just the two of them doing their thing. Then Faye shows up and they're really annoyed, but she sticks around. And then Ed joins. And again, they're annoyed. Also, they brought Ein.
Yep.
But then you see after a while, they're constantly giving each other crap.
It's almost like they became a family or something.
Exactly. They constantly give each other crap, and you see when they leave, they're like, "Well, whatever, we don't want her around." But then uh, okay, we'll go rescue you. We'll bring it, and then you can see that they actually start to get worried about each other.
Yeah, we even see with Jet
And
and
then the
Spike. Jet often acts. Let's be real. Jet sometimes actually acts like the tsundere thing. Well, it's Soon part, not the
yeah,
dairy. He's never really
not the
cute.
dairy, but this.
But definitely he does the I don't actually care about you. Shut up.
I was about to say Jet in a dress, but he does wear the apron a lot.
Yeah. Because like there's a bit where it's like he told Spike you better not. Oh, that was in episode 13. He's like you better not come back without that bounty. And Spike comes back without, and or I won't let you back on the ship. And he comes back and it's like, get on board.
Yep, yep. They keep throwing at each other, crap at each other, and keep trying to pretend
Like they don't care.
that they don't care about each other. But then when push comes to shove, they do.
Yeah.
And again, those last three episodes, like when Faye takes off, and then when Ein takes off, not Ein, when Ed takes off. Ein takes off as well, but when Ed takes off and you see that, it's like, well, we don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care that they left and they have all those eggs and still makes 5 servings and puts the 4 bowls out and Ein's full of food. And it's like, yeah, they basically became a family and then they're broken up and you can see it.
Yep. Fun times.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the other thing about that one episode was also this was, Faye kind of, finding her own old childhood home and it's nothing. And even she drew where her bed was and just lied down on the ground. It's like, wow. That moment right there.
Yeah, that was a...
And that was after meeting an old woman who turned out to be a classmate of hers.
Yep.
Although she ran away from that, it's like, oh, nope. I'm running away because that's scary. That's scary now.
I don't know how to deal with this. Yeah, that was actually before she fully got her memories back too.
Yeah. This was more or less the thing that kicked off a lot of it because she saw that she was obsessing over the Veda tape and she saw that lion fountain thing and was like trying to figure out where that is. And Ed's like, I know where that is. That's kind of led to the whole events of the episode. And, finding out about Ed and being an orphanage and her dad who doesn't even know, because didn't seem to remember anything, including what gender his child is.
Well, that was one of, like, thank you for taking care of my son. Or was it daughter? Doesn't matter.
It's like, okay. Yeah. And this is the thing, this show is also very much kind of more or less the style over substance thing, and because the substance there isn't actually that deep. It's actually you're pretty quick to figure it out. There's not like a whole lot I have to really think about this for a long time. I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to say, but it fairly clearly spells out what it wants to say to you. It doesn't make you try to work for it.
Yeah, that is one thing. It's everything's on the surface mostly. It's all right up front with it. It's not
with the important stuff anyway.
Subtle. Yeah, it's not being super subtle with its message or what message it has. It has a message, it's just not a super strong-handed one.
Yeah.
You don't have to think really hard, which I guess is good for some things.
And if anything, this series more about emotion, how you feel when watching it, not so much about what might make you think about stuff. It's mostly make you feel things. Yes. And it's kind of like in the same way that Promare last time was very much style of substance, although this is a very different kind of style. Whereas Promare is like very much bombastic in your face. This is very much just kind of laid back, more cool about it. Like sitting around in the lounge smoking.
Yeah,
that's what it's doing. Because
smoking
all these characters smoke.
Not all, but yeah, most.
so many characters are smoking. Why? Because smoking looks cool.
Yeah, the kids don't smoke though.
Yeah, at least there's that.
And the whole thing when the speaking of smoking and kids, what's her face? The Feng Shui master's daughter.
Oh yeah, Feng Shui. That's Mei Fa.
Yeah, when she shows up and Jet bans smoking from inside the ship.
No, what? Why?
Why?
Because she went.
Yep.
Yeah. Jet's more or less as much as he doesn't want to be. He's kind of a dad.
He's the dad. He so is.
I mean, he's the one who kind of took a shine to Ed.
Yep.
And everything, and like he felt compelled to take care of Mayfa there.
Yeah.
He's basically he is the dad. Much he just would try to protest that that's who he is.
He's totally the dad.
Yeah, so yeah, every episode very much is almost everyone is self-contained, other than a handful of them. They're like very self-contained adventures. In the movie itself is a very self-contained adventure that none of the characters really appear in the movie, really appear in anything else other than like one character, I think, and besides the main characters, obviously. Yeah, it's just very much everything's very self-contained. In the movie itself, it's one of those because the way the series ends, like, where does the movie take place and everything? The movie actually takes place between episodes 22 and 23. So it's kind of, it takes place middle because, like, oh look, everyone's all together. No Ed and Faye aren't gone or anything. Spike's still, the ending is kind of actually supposed to be a little ambiguous for Cowboy Bebop, the series, because like we see Spike there, collapse on the ground with a puddle of blood underneath him, and it's like,
he dead.
Well, not necessarily. Apparently, it's supposed to be, because we've seen him kind of go into that, get to
that
point before and come back.
Time he's died.
You've seen him get pretty perfectly injured and still live, and it's like that's the whole thing. It's like apparently the creator's like, I want to lift it ambiguous, leave it ambiguous, but anyone thinks he's probably just fell asleep there, passed out there. You're probably right. He probably passed out there. So yeah, I guess Spike lives.
Blood loss.
Spike lives.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Took a sword slice to the chest.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. He's taken a lot of. He's been shot like what, 5-6 times?
Shot. Oh God, I don't know. So many times. Once by his own girlfriend.
Yep.
Because that's actually a pretty important plot piece that we get told about in the end. What Vicious does. God, he's a horrible person.
Yep. Hey, took over the syndicate and everything.
Yeah, he's supposed to. Yeah, not for very long. That was a short-lived leadership. Yeah, I think he was supposed to kill Spike. Vicious was supposed to kill Spike, but what he did was made Julia do it. And basically says, if you don't do it, like, you kill her.
Yeah.
Held a gun to her head. It basically forced her to do it. But she shot him, but didn't kill him, and did that on purpose.
Yeah.
It gets kind of muddy on the details, but yeah, and that's when she left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Apparently, initially the show was like canceled initially, and then brought back because like there's a bunch of things like low ratings initially, and then also like there's a bit of a controversy over the content of these shows, the show itself, and then this is in Japan. And then it was brought back later, and then I was able to finish properly. And
so a space western came out, got bad ratings, was canceled, but then came back because people realized it was good. That sounds really familiar, almost like Firefly. Had one season, had bad ratings, so they canceled the second season, but then people found it anyway. It got really popular, so they brought it back as a movie.
Not really at all.
Well, it's different, but
it was just it was like initial one network decided to cancel it, and then another network brought it up and actually aired the whole thing. So that's what more or less what happened. It was kind of a weird thing of like a lot of these episodes are finished but never aired until they showed up later on a different network.
As long as they didn't do what Fox did to Firefly.
Yeah, they didn't.
We're not even going to air the pilot until after we decide to cancel it. Air them out of order. Don't market it at all, and no wonder it got bad ratings.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking, and it's like, a lot of the original run just didn't get aired. Like the first episode didn't get aired on the first network.
They didn't pile up.
They skipped a bunch of episodes because, again, I think it was just.
So they did do what Fox did.
They skipped a lot of episodes. They just didn't air a lot. It wasn't that, it wasn't like Fox where they aired the pilot. They just didn't air it, period, until the other network aired it.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, Fox didn't actually air the pilot until after they decided to cancel. That they were going to cancel the second season.
I know they had the pilot. Fox aired the pilot. Didn't want to air the pilot initially because they said, we want a different pilot. So he made a different pilot. And That's why they got 2 episodes
Oh.
which are all weird.
I don't think Fox
Firefly.
ever wanted the show at all.
It was a weird
So they
thing.
just
I don't
kind of
remember what
screwed
happened.
it over from the beginning.
I think there's one of those things that changed the leadership while it was in production type things. So, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, that can happen.
And something like the new leadership, like, I don't want this old crap show. So they just decide to screw it over until they have justified canceling it outright. But yeah, another big thing which we haven't even touched on yet is, I think, one of the most important parts of Cowboy Bebop is the music.
The music.
The music is a big deal in this show. It's like one of the reasons you watch the show is for the music, because it is amazing. The entire soundtrack. Yeah,
I think the only songs that ever get like really repeated are the opening and the ending.
Yeah, almost every episode pretty much has its own soundtrack.
Yeah.
One of the few things is like the last episode, the Real Folk Blues, has a remix of the Real Folk Blues in it. Playing.
Yes.
There's not like a lot of shows where it's like, this character gets their own theme and whatnot. And there's certain themes that play throughout the series. No, this one, like every single episode pretty much has its own thing. And, it was composed by Yoko Kanno. And yeah, she did a lot. It was like a lot of blues and jazz and even tribal and all sorts of stuff just fused together. And she just went and just went off and just went and did just a whole bunch of music.
Had fun with it. Had a lot of fun with it.
She just wanted to do a whole bunch, and it was just did a whole bunch. Yeah, so yeah, again, there's so much music. There are 7 original soundtrack albums. 7.
Holy crap, that is a
for 26 episodes.
Lot. That is a lot.
Because they just didn't stop making music. Apparently, yeah, according to this, she'd see the new stuff and like, okay, I'm just gonna make something. And some songs in the second half of the series, we didn't even ask for her those songs. She just made them and brought them to us. She just made new songs. Like, okay, hold on, I'll be back. But yeah, the music is amazing.
It is. It is absolutely
including,
incredible.
Of course, the OP and the ED.
Oh yeah, and they're very different from each other.
Yeah. It's a lot of it's just like, again, blues and jazz and stuff kind of pop up a lot throughout this soundtrack, and then they even got like American singers and whatnot for some of the music.
Yep.
Yeah, because a lot of the songs are sung in English, and that's kind of in of itself some surprise.
Or have English in them, like the old folk blues.
The Real Folk Blues, yeah.
The Real Folk was that line is English in the song.
But a large chunk of the songs are also just entirely sung in English by an English-speaking singer. So yeah, they did a lot of that stuff, and yeah, it's really fantastic. One of my favorite bits was the final song of episode 13. It's called Space Lion, as I found out.
Space Lion.
Yeah, at the very end of episode 13, and this is one of the few times they didn't play the ED, and it was amazing.
Space Lion.
Yep.
Like Voltron?
Sure, why not? Yeah, it's one of that's one of the big things. Just the music's so good.
The music is amazing.
Like, I kind of now want to go get the soundtracks, actually.
I'm trying. There was one. I don't remember which episode it was, but I do remember there was one song that just had a bass line that just really caught my attention. I think it was just in the middle of an episode. It wasn't like it would have been in the middle of an episode, but I don't think it was the ED from that one episode. But I do remember. I can't remember. I wish I could remember which episode it was from.
Yeah.
Just really cool bass line to it. Just like, yeah.
Yeah, and then, one other thing is, we don't usually mention these, but the episode previews at the end were very much themselves are their own thing. Where like they're just half the time they don't have nothing to do with the next upcoming episode other than the visuals, and they did some crazy stuff with those too.
Yeah, we'll say most of the time when you get those, especially coming from it's like Sailor Moon stuff, when they show previews of things in Sailor Moon where they basically spoil it all for you. It wasn't just Sailor Moon, but a whole bunch of them, they tend to do that. Or they're either like super basic, this is what's going to happen.
Yep.
And you just get something super basic, kind of boring. This was very different. They played with it and had fun with it, and they didn't really spoil things either.
Yep.
So they're very good teasers.
One of them was actually, one of my favorites actually, is just simply the preview for Pierre Le Fou. It's just laughing the entire time. This maniacal laughter the entire time. It's like, okay, this is uncomfortable and disturbing.
Yeah.
That was the other thing, was that whole thing where it's like they find out, hey, more or less he regressed into a child because of their crazy super soldier experiments, basically.
A really creepy, murderous child,
Yeah,
but yes,
because
a child.
he turned into a child, and they're like, oh, he's ruined. Gotta get rid of him now. And then he got revenge. And yeah, it's that crazy because we see Spike is a really good fighter, and I think that in one of the theories is because one of his eyes is a fake one, which helps his eye coordination or something. But he's a really good fighter, and he could not touch Pierre except for the occasional lucky thing. Like Pierre was
Yeah.
untouchable.
Well, also Pierre, had a force field thing.
Yeah, well, that was gunshots, but like hand to hand, like even that was he occasionally got a hit on him, but it was barely affected Pierre there. And I like how he defeated Pierre only by sheer luck. That there was a glint of light that made him look like a cat, made him Pierre think of the cat that I guess creeped him out from the experiments.
Yep.
And made him freeze and miss. It's the only reason Spike was able to win. I like that. It was just sheer luck.
And even then, what Spike did wasn't even he stuck a knife threw a knife and got stuck into Pierre's leg. Totally not a mortal shot, but that's the first time Pierre's been hurt. Because he was basically invincible.
Perot, yeah.
He's never felt pain before. And suddenly...
Not Pierrot.
Pierre Perot, yeah. Suddenly felt pain and started crying for his mommy.
Yeah, and they got stepped on by an giant animatronic.
And then got crushed.
Yeah, another thing is just the ship designs are great. They're very...
Oh my god, the Swordfish 2 is amazing.
I even like Jet's ship, and even Faye's ship is
Jet's ship's pretty good. Yeah, Faye's...
I like
if I were to rank them... Swordfish, then Faye. I don't know how I would rank the Bebop compared to the...
Well, I like with Bebop.
I think it's a Hammerhead.
Yeah.
I think it's the name. Or the Hammer or something like that.
Hammerhead for, I think, Jet's.
For Jet's ship. Which is very much like a repair type ship. It's got the big grappling claw thing on the back.
It's a capture claw.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bebop itself
The Bebop is a boat.
Yeah, it literally was a fishing boat. Converted. And then what I do like is it actually lands on water when they come to a planet. And they do the whole jump gate thing because fast and light travel is kind of not really a thing without those. And
I do like how they set up the sci-fi for the gates, although there's some potential weirdness here and there with it. Because I've seen warp gates, jump gate concept is used a lot in different sci-fi, but they all have different ways of doing it. I'm trying to remember some examples. First one that's coming to mind is Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Those mass relays are effectively jump gates.
Yeah.
They're very different than what we have here. But it's the idea of a gate that accelerates you and then you slow down at the destination. You have the idea closer to this where you have gates that connect 2 points and basically create a tunnel, which is sort of what these do, but this does it slightly different. There's a very unique thing to these ones. The gate, it sort of creates a tunnel, but it also, the whole point of the gate is to basically push you into a different dimension, sort of. It phases you into a different dimension that lets you travel faster than the speed of light and accelerates you up to that, but you have to be dephased at the end. That's the big one, is you can get stuck in there, which is a point that comes up.
Yeah, even within the gate, you can speed up, slow down, move around. You can even turn around completely if you want to. Yeah, you got free movement. That's the whole thing there. It's like, you have an whole thing where these terrorists were going to launch these missiles full of virus stuff through out of hyperspace, and they just shut the gate and they just pass through because
they're in a different.
They're kind of out of phase.
They're basically phased out. Yeah.
Yep. Stuff like that.
It's interesting. It creates a tunnel between the two gates that you can travel through, but if it closes, you can never dephase again.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well,
there's room there.
I don't think it's so much you can dephase as much as you're stuck in there until they open the gate again.
Well, I think even then it depends on positioning, because they don't explain that part. After it goes past the gate, then what? If they open the gate again after it's passed, do you suddenly dephase, or do you have to somehow get back to the gate?
I
but
think
it's a
you're
tunnel.
thinking too much about something they didn't really think about themselves because it wasn't really
Yeah, well,
important.
that's what we do.
That's
That's what
what
we do. Because
you're
that's the other
doing.
part is
It's not we,
while the
you.
gate is open,
Don't bring me in
while
with your
while the
nonsense.
while the gate is open though, they're in a tunnel that they get stuck in. They can't escape the walls of the tunnel. They bounce off of it. Or they hit it and scrapes against it.
Yep.
It's like a physical wall.
When if
So
they,
it's weird that
it's
that
implied that
the
if you
gate
go too hard against
closes,
that wall, you'll destroy yourself
you'll
trying to
destroy yourself.
leave.
So it's weird that if you hit the wall of the tunnel, you'll get destroyed. But if the gate closes, you'll just be stuck in whatever hyperspace phase you're in.
Yeah, I don't know how.
So it's a little, it's interesting how that works.
Yeah, the other thing about I almost forgot was a lot of the episodes also have musical references in the names of themselves. I mean, one of them is just straight up called Bohemian Rhapsody for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy Metal Queen, Sympathy for the Devil, My Funny Valentine, Mushroom Samba, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yep. Also, the ending card, I guess, it tends to change up a bit.
Here and there.
Not really musical references, but those are kind of funny. CU Space Cowboy did show up a couple times.
Yep. You're going to carry that weight.
You're going to carry that. That was the ending one.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of those are great. A couple things I want to say real quick before we wrap up, I guess, criticism-wise. There's a couple things like they are just kind of aged poorly. There's a couple times where like Spike and Jet will have a conversation, which is a bit misogynistic.
A bit.
There's, what's his face? Gren. It's kind of a weird thing in general.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gren has boobs. He's a guy who has boobs, and I think the idea is he took drugs, and this one of the side effects was hormonal imbalance, which he grew boobs. But the thing is, he is still a guy. He just never bothered to get rid of them because where he is, it's kind of outside the law, and probably was just more effort than it was worth, and just to put on a binder and live with it for him. So I think that's the weird thing. But the problem there was not so much that, so much as kind of Faye's reaction to it.
Represented, yeah.
It's kind of a weird thing. Yeah, he's not trans in any way. He just So it's a kind of a weird thing, and it won't surprise me if it's just kind of a weird, just outdated view of how this all works from a Japanese person. But I don't know.
Yeah, they could have done a lot worse, but
yeah, it's not horrible. But the only thing for him was just it got allowed him to pretend to be a girl for a bit when he was handing off the drugs to Vicious. So Vicious didn't recognize Gren.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have time to go through all the individual plot elements of all those episodes because we'd be here forever because of the nature of this one. But yeah, it's definitely a big milestone anime to watch and rewatch even.
Yeah, it is. It is really good.
So yeah, if you haven't watched it in a while, watch it again. Why not?
Yeah, why not? It's great.
Because there's a good chance you've probably already seen it, but he hadn't yet, so might as well.
I hadn't seen. That was one of those
you knew about it.
I've known about it. Like you can't. It's basically impossible to not at least.
It was on that list of things I probably should get around to watching eventually.
Yeah, everyone talks about it. Its name keeps popping up all over the place. So it's next to impossible to have never heard of Cowboy Bebop before, but I had never seen it.
Yep,
I have now.
And it holds up pretty well.
And it was
for
good.
The most part. Just a couple little really parts.
A couple little things here and there that do show its age.
And also the fact, hey, look, it's not on widescreen. Oh no, black bars.
Oh no.
Now everything is ruined, except for the movie. The movie's in widescreen. Because, it's a theatrical release, so duh.
Theatricals are always widescreen, yeah.
Well, not always. A couple of movies have not been. Older movies, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I wish I watched it earlier than I did. I only watched it a little bit, like a couple years ago for the first time, so yeah, I wish I watched it earlier than I did.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic, and it's one of those times where actually, it pretty much does live up to the hype.
Yeah, I would say so. I would definitely say so.
Because there was a lot of hype around this thing. Again, when you keep seeing people calling it the greatest of all time, you're like, is it though? And you're like, okay, I can see why you call it one of the greatest of all time.
I'm not certain if it is, but it is definitely in the ranking.
Yeah. But I think that's it. We can get ourselves bogged down because this is something you can talk about forever because of how great it is. But we got to move on. It's been almost an hour at this point of recording. I hope you enjoyed this talk. I hope you enjoyed Cowboy Bebop because I don't think there's many people who don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Hope you liked it. If you did, you can check out past and future episodes at newtoweeaboo.libsyn.com. It's spelled Libsyn. There's no spaces or dashes or anything in that web address. If you want to check us out and anything on the other stuff we talk about, you can find us there, the RSS feed. You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, although that's just being discontinued, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Go to any of those services and search for New to Weeaboo, and you can subscribe to the various feeds and whatnot on those. Google Podcasts, it's finally up on the website. We finally got it over. It's just podcast.google.com is the thing. But it's also directly linked there. Again, Google Play is being phased out slowly. The YouTube version, you could also, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff on there as well. You could also email if you want to, newtoweeaboo@gmail.com. Questions, comments, criticisms, anime recommendations if you like, all those things. What did you think? When was the first time you watched Cowboy Bebop? I mean, were you young? Were you older? Or what? Did you got to watch it when it first came out in the U.S.? Did you somehow magically import it into the U.S. before it came out officially? Did you find it, via one of those
Gray
mythical
market
VHS tapes that were passed around way back in the day? How? I don't know. But just all that sort of thing. There's also, you can follow us on Twitter at newtoweeaboo if you like. We're there. We'll say things occasionally, whatever. You can also follow the personal Twitters. I'm at Nemesis Prime 1, and he's at Alcatraz with a 77T and an underscore at the end. I don't think I've tweeted much recently, if at all.
I won't say ever, but I don't really tweet very much.
I tweeted how stupid Transformers is and how much I love it. Because someone the Tweet Wiki posted a scene for the show. It's like, yep, that's Transformers.
Yep.
So you can follow us there, those things. Next week, or next time, a couple weeks, we'll be talking about actually another Sunrise Studios project, Love Live Sunshine.
I expect it to be very similar.
We're returning to Idle Hell.
Sunrise Studios. We made Cowboy Bebop, and we're going to see something else.
Yep, completely different.
Completely. Or is it?
Boy, that would be interesting.
I want to see Spike sing and dance.
Oh boy. So, hope you'll join us then. So take care until then.
Yep. Stay healthy.
Bang.